Hi YouTubers, this is a video about a watch that is currently for sale on eBay. This is the Seiko Kinetic Perpetual calendar, model number SNP007, that comes with the Seiko 7D48 kinetic movement with auto relay. So, once again, there are videos about a mechanism action with this particular watch, but not complete reviews. Thought the whole one on there. I'm also selling it. So, first of all, I'm going to talk a little bit about first why I bought it. Well, I bought it because this, back in the day, I think I bought it in like maybe 2010 or 11, I can't remember. And I bought it from the authorized dealer, full retail, because at the time it wasn't discounted, because it was kind of, in my mind, a representation of like the state of the art of sort of technology in terms of watch horology, in the sense that this had the Seiko Kinetic movement, which has great quartz accuracy, but still has that cool self-winding thing. You know, you can hear the rotor with it, and it has self-charging capability. So you can, it's like having an automatic watch, but just a heck of a lot more reliable. And I've kind of wanted to get a Kinetic ever since when I was in college, way back in the day, back in, I think it was in the 90s. You know, my friend had one of the earliest Kinetics, and you know, he talked about how this was so much better than the traditional Swiss automatic watch. He's a European guy. Anyway, why am I selling it, however? Well, the biggest problem for me is I love everything about it, except really the looks. The looks don't really gel with me, and you know, though to be fair, in this particular watch model, in terms of this movement, there aren't many designs that actually look better than this. So if you kind of want this one, this might be the one to get. Anyway, so let's talk about the specs. So this, once again, is the Seiko Kinetic Perpetual. So what that means is that it has the time, obviously, which you can see ticking away, but it also has the date, and also like this is like a 24-hour thing, but it also has the month. And this little indicator over here is the leap year. So essentially what that means is that once you set the date, you can forget it. It will keep up the accurate date until like, I think it's like 2100 or something. It's like some crazy year where it won't be accurate anymore. So you never have to set the date. Once you've set it, you can forget it, right? Otherwise, this is an all stainless steel case, an all stainless steel bracelet with sapphire crystal, which is, you know, early days in the 2000s for, you know, Seiko to have that as opposed to hard like. This is not hard like. This is actually sapphire. It also has Seiko lumibrite, which I don't know if you can sort of tell if I, you know, cover it a little bit. I mean, you might be able to see that it glows pretty well. Actually, it glows super well. It's like one of the best lume kind of watches I have. So when it's active, as you can see, it'll advance like a normal quartz, and unlike a lot of, you know, quartz watches, they actually hit every mark. But if you don't use it for a while, say lay it on the floor, what will happen is that it will stop advancing the time, but it will continue to advance the date. And that's to preserve power, because what it can do is go to sleep and resume time after days, months, and I think initially even up to a couple of years with enough power, which is very cool, and I've definitely seen it. Now, unfortunately, I was trying to do this video where I kept it asleep for a while and then I would show you the motion, but you can, you know, look on YouTube for some other videos where you can see the hands. What happens, it'll stay asleep, and then as soon as you like shake it or move it, the hands will spin around and come back to the time, even though the clock will still be advancing. So, and that's kind of how you know it still has power, right? The date will still be correct. If it's completely out, the date will be off, and unfortunately that happened once, and then I had to shake it back to life. If it's low power, there will still be a power indicator reserve, in the sense that it won't tick every second, it'll tick every couple of seconds. So it has that indication of power. And so that function where it goes to sleep and then comes back is called auto relay, which is, you know, very cool. It is charged by a rotor in the back, which you can't see, but it's kind of like an automatic in that sense. And this rotor is kind of loud and you can feel it, which I kind of like personally. This watch also was originally, I think, handmade in a small group facility in Japan because it was sort of representing their sort of height of their sort of technology in a sense. And so the advantage of this is like, you know, you get all that cool feeling and sort of interaction with the watch because it is an automatic. It does not hand wind. It is a screwback caseback, but a push-pull crown, but does, I think, offer still 100 meters of water resistance. But see, while you have this automatic sensibility of movement, you get quartz accuracy. So, you know, Swiss chronometer rating still means, you know, you're losing 1 or 2 seconds a day, which doesn't sound like a lot, but with a quartz, you're losing like 1 or 2 seconds a month. And possibly the best and most accurate courses, because I'm not sure that includes this one, and you're talking about 1 or 2 seconds a year. So it's not the same order of magnitude. So you get like all of that coolness of self-winding, but you don't actually, you can count down the time. The other thing that makes this particular Kinetic watch better than so many others is that, you know, you'll read on YouTube about like how Kinetic watches are actually quite difficult to manage. And why? Well, because if they go out of power, they can sort of lessen their life, right? And Kinetics, you know, because they also can have this shorter life, then you have to constantly be wearing it in order to actually use it. So it almost has to become a daily, which then kind of defeats the purpose. A Kinetic watch that has auto relay, however, especially this one as advanced it is, which can go for months actually in sleep mode, does not have that issue. You do not constantly need to attend to this. And, you know, that's something that's definitely true with this particular watch that I've used. I mean, this in some ways is the perfect grab and go for that reason. And in that way, it almost operates like a lot of solar watches, right? But without, the problem with that is that sometimes the solar doesn't have the same feeling because you don't have that rotor. It's almost like, almost too quartz-like, I guess you would say. Like, I don't like the idea that I can't interact with the watch in that sense. So anyway, bottom line, why do I like it? Well, as I just mentioned, it's super convenient. It is almost the epitome of grab and go. Like you can be sitting on your thing for a while, and it's the one watch that will keep time, and you won't have to change even the battery. You just pick it up and shake it a bit, and it goes. It's very accurate because it's quartz, and super grab and go, not just because it's quartz and because it's self-winding, but because you don't even have to set the calendar. The date will also, not just the time will be correct, the date. That being said, it won't actually do daylight saving, so that's the only thing that you would have to change it for, and that's fairly easy. It's also super tough, and what I mean by that is it's quartz, and quartz tends to be more rugged for shocks than automatics. But also, in a sense, and you'll read this on the forums too, like you really need to shake it, like in order to like get it to go. And so that means playing tennis, you know, sports, great. Like run with it, like shake it back and forth. That's kind of how it wants to be charged. And so almost the harder you shake it, the better. And so it is very tough. And it's got sapphire crystal, and it's got stainless steel bracelet. It's got great lume. It's like the best lume because Seiko's got great lume. But this, because it was sort of a flagship watch, definitely has the best lume. And so in that sense, it's also almost perfect tool-like functionality because it's perfect. Like even though most tool watches will sometimes be just time because then you don't have to worry too much about setting it. This has date, you know, and time, but it's also, you don't have to worry about it. So it's the perfect tool watch. And as I said, it's the best Kinetic in the sense that you don't have to, you know, tend to it constantly to keep it charged. It has a really good auto relay system. So it's almost like having those solar watches that you can leave around as an emergency watch, but this is, you know, still got the Kinetic function. So ultimately, what don't I like about it? Well, I think the first thing and the most obvious thing is the design. It has a Genta-like inspiration where you kind of have a little bit of like Petit Philippe Nautilus and a little bit of the Royal Oak, Audemars Piguet, but I mean, either you like it or you don't. And quite frankly, it's never really grown on me. The issues I have more specifically is like, you know, there can be these sharp edges. I kind of like the silver, looped dials in there. It makes it look a bit like a chronograph, but I don't kind of like really like the font. Also, I tend to like super brushed watches. This has a lot of polish on it, which unfortunately does pick up the scratches. So I don't really like that. Um, so those are things that, like, as much as I like it, and to be fair, I mean, I've thought about replacing it many times with another one of this because I really like the movement, but honestly, none of them in this particular, that for some reason when Seiko's making it, they really want to go with their design, which I can appreciate, but I just don't like the design as much. I'd almost prefer it to be more simple. And so in some ways I could almost deal with it if I could tone it down, but here's the other problem. The other problem is the bracelet. You can see this, right? This is an integrated bracelet. Now, if it had had the normal bracelet, which only a few of them do for some reason, then I could almost get away with it by just changing out this bracelet and then putting something else. I mean, I've even tried to think about getting a rubber one because I'd almost think, it could be very Hublot-like if I got a black rubber, but I'm not sure I could find the right one that would actually fit it. And then, even though this is, this was MSRP of 500 back in the day, which was kind of pricey, it's still got this sort of, pressed clasp kind of thing, which isn't great, and, it's push pin, removal, and it's kind of hollow. They're hollow solid legs, so I guess that's okay because I don't really want it to be that heavy, but it's kind of, rattly, as you can see, which is, not, I don't like it so much. It's okay. And also there's obviously no micro adjust, which then makes, sizing a little bit complicated. But, I've kept it so many years, even though I've had all these misgivings, just because at the end of the day it was still so convenient and really cool. But, at this point now I've got so many other watches that I, at this point think I need to move it on just because I just don't wear it that much. And that's a good thing because it has that auto relay, but so I can keep going even though I'm not wearing it, but those are the reasons. Anyway, so hope you like this video. Like I said, this is for sale on eBay right now, and I've done the review mostly because I think in some ways it could use a little bit more discussion about what are its pros and cons. So anyway, cheers.